Well, all right, all right, all right.
Hi, baby.
Hey,
Hello.
good to see you.
I know. Same here.
We're in the studio back again.
Yes.
All right, welcome back to the In Sync Marriage Podcast.
Welcome.
I'm Somi LA.
And Toast in LA.
All right, and we're back.
Yes, we are.
So, how you been this week?
Oh, my days, babe. Tired, busy. My hands in every pot. Just, a lot.
Every pot.
Every pot,
Oh
man.
boy.
How have you been?
It's been a week. I can tell you that.
Oh, my days.
It's been a very difficult week. Lots of challenges, but we're getting through them.
That's good.
One step after another.
There you go.
Right.
There
How's
you
your intimate life been?
I should be asking you. I should be asking you, bro.
We haven't seen your face around lately.
We haven't seen your face around lately.
Oh yeah?
I guess which brings us to what it is we're talking about today.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
What are we talking about, babe?
Physical intimacy.
All right, so quick disclaimer, guys. We're new to the whole YouTube world, and we weren't positive as to whether or not using the three-letter word that
Three-letter
describes
word.
physical intimacy was going to get us censored or not.
So we're gonna keep it PG.
So we're going to keep it PG and refer to it as physical intimacy.
Not because we're uncomfortable saying
Absolutely
the word.
not.
It's just-
We are not.
Yeah.
Those who know us know we are not uncomfortable talking about the three-letter word. But maybe someday, if we figure this whole thing out and it actually doesn't get censored, we will say it. I have no problem saying it. But physical intimacy for the sake of today. Reason being, we've been talking about the three main things that we've identified that lead to divorce,
Right.
or that people have cited as their reasons for divorce. First was lack of communication.
Lack of communication. Yeah,
The
talk
second
about
was financial disagreement.
Right.
And then the last but not least was physical intimacy,
Yes.
or lack thereof.
Or intimacy in general.
Intimacy in general.
Right, which you can break down into different facets, right? So you have the spiritual part of intimacy, you have the emotional intimacy, and then you have the physical intimacy.
Yeah.
But today we're going to be focusing on
Physical intimacy.
Right.
But it's important to define all three so that at least, because anybody who's new to the word or to the concept of it will be like, bruh, what you mean?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? I just thought intimacy was intimacy.
Right.
I feel like in the past few episodes, we've touched on emotional intimacy.
Yes, we have.
We have, and it's pretty much just being able to feel seen, being able to feel vulnerable,
Right.
being able
What
to
about safety?
feel safe,
Yeah,
and being able to feel like you're being heard.
correct.
That's what emotional intimacy is. A space where you feel safe enough to communicate anything,
Yes.
to be able to share your hard, your good, your bad, everything. That's emotional intimacy.
Correct.
And then spiritual intimacy, babe, what would you
Yeah.
define that
It's
as?
very similar. It's also a place where spiritually we're feeling connected. We're feeling like, okay, we can pray together.
Absolutely.
We can communicate with God together. We have a spiritual alignment, and our goals are aligned when it comes to where we're going, the walk that we have, and the
Spiritually.
assignment that God has placed over our marriage. So
Absolutely. And then
yeah.
last but not least, which is physical intimacy.
that's the one that's designed for us.
yes.
Yeah. So
Mhm,
talk about that.
mhm. Physical intimacy, when we define it as the act of touch. And it's touch. Reason I'm using touch is because a lot of people think physical intimacy is just, and I think I'm going to say it and you can censor it out.
Okay.
I mean,
Sure.
a lot of people, I just can't, I don't know how I'm going to talk about physical
Well,
intimacy
well, say
without
it
saying
then.
the word sex. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Maybe we'll just make sure to set this episode as PG 18 and above. I think that's what we're going to do. But yes,
Honestly, people who are under 18, they all use the word anyway.
they already know.
So
Okay.
we'll let YouTube do what YouTube does. It is what it
Exactly.
is.
So physical intimacy is the act of touch, and it's not just sex alone. A lot of people think it is just sex, but it's not. It is even um
Non-sexual.
non-sexual touch. It's just touch. It's the hugs, it is the kisses, it is the pat on the back, it is the holding of hands, and of course it is the sexual intercourse itself.
Right.
So that's physical intimacy. All three combined, if you're healthy in all three, you have a
You've hit a jackpot.
dynamic marriage.
So let's talk about, for us, this has been a very tough week. Right?
It
And
has.
it's a perfect example of how you could be disconnected, right, when it comes to the physical intimacy part,
And be connected with everything else.
and be connected with everything else, because
Yeah.
everything else is just
We're
taking,
emotionally
yeah,
connected.
yeah, it's-
We're actually, I think this week has been hard emotionally, and that's probably why that's been
correct.
a difficult time, or difficulty in the area of physical intimacy, because
Yes.
one thing we have established and recognized is that whenever there is stress,
Mm-hmm.
or whenever I don't feel like I could be safe in that season with you. And that, again, a lot of people were like, what you talking about? Because supposedly you guys got
Well,
it. No,
explain it.
no,
Explain it.
no, we don't got it.
Yeah.
We're just every day sharing and being vulnerable with you guys on all the things that we have learned are important to talk about in order to
To flourish.
flourish. Yes.
Yeah.
And so some weeks, if maybe I don't feel like I'm being heard,
Okay.
that usually sort of makes me put up my emotional wall.
Low wall. Okay.
And once there's an emotional wall up,
So this week you didn't feel like you were being heard?
I feel like we haven't even seen eye to eye in order to be able to even feel that emotional
I think
connection.
that's a better way to describe it.
We've just been busy.
And why is that?
I don't know. I work, you work. What you talking about?
I'm just saying, hey, listen.
And I don't know. I just feel like extra this week has been tiring for
Has
me.
been
I've just
exhausting.
been tired.
Mm.
And by the time, I see, even though we're good, I don't feel like we're in a hard place. I've just been, and sometimes I'm just cranky. It could also have something to do with the my female calendar. Sometimes you're just in that hormonal space where you're just not yourself, and it has nothing to do with your partner.
That's
So
true.
there's a lot that has to do with maintaining physical intimacy in a marriage. That's not always about just not desiring each other.
Right.
I know I always joke that only two things makes my husband excited. They both start with S: soccer and sex. Those are the only two things that make him excited.
Wow.
If you want to see excitement, like so means maximum excitement. Probably because your name starts with S too.
Oh,
But
wow.
I just put that one
You
together.
did good. You did good. I'll give you that. That was good.
Thank you. You're welcome. So how do you get out of that rut when you're in? Because this is not, for us, we're talking to folks who may be dealing with this on a regular basis. It's
That's
not
true.
something that's regular for us.
Yeah.
It does happen. Most times we've figured out how to prevent it, but there's times when it does happen. And when it
Yes.
does, how do we get back to where we're intimate again?
Yeah, I think for me, this has just been a very, very difficult week. Work, business, all of that. And so when life hits like that, the last thing on my mind is sex, right? I'm too busy trying to fix things, right? And so that's one thing, right? But to answer your question, how do we get out of the rut? I think first thing is identifying, similar to what we did before we got on this podcast to talk about it, right?
We talked about it.
Because it's like, hey, listen, let's get in the studio and go talk about this thing, because this is
Yeah.
something we are kind of experiencing right now. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the fact that we can even sit here, identify it. That's the first step, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that there's a little bit of a gap, and then being able to talk about it, and talk to
Mm-hmm.
your partner and say, hey, I noticed there's a little bit of a
A gap here.
gap here. What's going on? What are we doing? How are you feeling? I think that's step one.
Step one is identifying that there's a gap and being
Yes.
able to talk to each other about it.
Correct.
As always, we always say that intimacy does not start in the bedroom.
Never.
It starts with little conversations. It starts with little touches outside of the bedroom. So being able to even just talk about sex, evaluating how you've been,
Yes.
and just even talking about what sex feels like for your partner.
Right.
Is it working? Is it not?
Before we even get that far,
Mm.
what you describe is something I've always struggled with. I think
Mm.
earlier on in our marriage, I was from the school of thought that whenever I'm ready, my wife is supposed to be ready.
Oh.
I don't know who taught me that. I don't know where I saw it, but that was my mindset.
You
it
learned
was,
quick.
It was
didn't you?
always, listen, I could be not paying attention to you all day long, but once I'm ready, she should be ready.
Mm.
And then I would be very resentful when you would turn me down, and it's like, how did I miss it? How did I not know that it didn't really start in the bedroom? How did I miss the fact that I could have been a lot nicer throughout the day?
You could have been romancing
could've
my
been-
my
yeah.
heart and my brain.
Right. It's funny the things you know now that that you didn't know back then, right?
Mm.
And to the people that are watching, understanding that there's a genuineness that goes along with really caring for your partner that is naturally reciprocated when you're in the bedroom,
Mm.
right? What a lot of us are missing is that genuineness, actual caring, and actually wanting to be great for our partner, wanting
Mm.
to make sure that they're okay. How are you doing today? Checking on them throughout the day. The little pat on the back, the little holding of the hands, right? All of that matters.
The long hugs.
Yes, the long hugs. Yes.
I love the long hugs. They just melt every stressor in my body.
Mm.
And I'm just like, oh, I'm not alone.
Yes.
So that definitely is something that a lot of people don't recognize that needs to be talked about, is the fact that it doesn't start in the bedroom. And
Correct.
especially with men, I hate to be a gender specific when it comes to things that occur.
You hate to be, but you're about to be?
I'm going to be, because that's usually in a lot of the homes, it's usually the mom or the wife that handles the kids, handles the food, handles managing, keeping the home together. And I always joke that one of the reasons why, well, I don't always joke, I just I always say that it's one of the reasons I feel like people are not having sex, or a lot of
Not
times I
being
think
intimate.
women are not being intimate, is because the walls are too familiar.
Mm.
Sometimes the walls just know you too much, and it's difficult because that same wall you just finished cooking this whole sometimes our soups and stuff like that,
Mm.
and you still got stains on your apron, and you smell like it, and there's nothing romantic or sexy about you in that moment, and then you're supposed to just turn around, or you just cleaned a dirty diaper,
Mm.
and the walls are just reminding you of how you just felt like you were, I don't know, slaving away for a second. And then now you got to flip it around and become a sexy,
So what you said is it's more mental for women.
It's absolutely
than
mental.
it is for
It
guys.
is.
Because I don't know that any guy listening to us right now, what you just described, I don't know that we actually care that
Really?
you smell like you just. Some days you do, but again, I do. I know I do, right? That's just how I'm wired.
Yeah.
I'm sensitive to smell. I'm sensitive to all of those things. But I can say that there might be some guys
That don't care.
who really don't care.
Yeah, but if you want the maximum output, you gotta have the maximum input,
Some people
right?
don't care about maximum output.
Ah.
I'm telling you right now. You know, there's one thing I used to share with my guys, right? And we'll talk, and I say, and this was me back in the days.
Ooh,
I used to be able to stand on the fact that I would rather wait
and get
and
quality.
get quality.
Oh, I knew that about in the
Right.
beginning.
And to a certain degree, I'm still
You
kind
still
of like
that
that,
way.
right? Like, don't give me nonsense. Like, if you're coming in, I need you to put on a performance. I need it to be memorable. You know, that's me inside. But I realize as I talk to more guys that can be problematic,
And that's probably just you.
right? And that's probably just me. Some people like, listen, give me the nice quickie. Let's move on. You know, that'll hold me for a couple days. You know what I mean? And they're okay, and that's okay. If that's what your husband wants, if that's how he operates, that's fine too. So I say that to say some people may not care about the smell and the wall inside the house and all of that.
And I don't want it to seem like women don't um want or crave sex.
Correct.
I don't want it to be that way because we do. We absolutely do, and we
Oh, we
know
know.
when our cup is like empty
full.
when it comes to that empty.
Empty. Okay. Not full.
Not full.
Okay.
That's you. Your cup gets full. Our cup gets empty.
All
When we
right.
get to that state, we know. However, I think, at least I can speak for myself and some of my friends and the girls that I talk to, that for us, we do have to feel safe though.
Correct.
We cannot emotionally be disconnected from you and give ourselves
Freely.
freely.
Yeah.
However, this is the part that is crazy because when I was telling you earlier about the Bible passage that
You're right.
that
Yeah,
speaks
yeah.
about sexual intimacy or physical intimacy, and it's I'm going
You
to
want to
read
read it? I was gonna say.
I'm going to read it.
I think we bring it out.
I'm going to read it in KJV, then I'm going to read it in the Message because I read it in different versions. And the Message Bible was like,
I think you should just stick to the message.
oh man,
Yeah,
okay,
just
let
stick
me
to the
read it in the
Message.
Message then.
I think we'll get the point.
Okay, it was. I had to laugh and be like, where I wrote this thing, eh? Okay,
Uh-huh.
here we go. It says, 1 Corinthians 7, and it's 1 through 6.
Okay.
Quick. All right, now getting down to the questions you asked in your letter to me. First, is it a good thing to have sexual relations? Certainly, but only within a certain context. It's good for a man to have a wife and for a woman to have a husband. Sexual drives are strong, but marriage is strong enough to contain them and provide for a balanced and fulfilling sexual life in a world of sexual disorder. The marriage bed must be a place of mutuality. The husband seeking to satisfy his wife, the wife seeking to satisfy her husband. Marriage is not a place to stand up for your rights. Marriage is a
Ooh.
decision to serve the other, whether in bed or out. Abstaining from sex is permissible for a period of time if you both agree to it, and if it's for the purposes of prayer and fasting, but only for such times, then come back together again. Satan has an ingenious way of tempting us when we least expect it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's deep.
It's interesting how they brought Satan into it, how Paul brought Satan into
I
it.
mean,
And
it's right because again, if you think about life in its basic form, when you're away from your partner, there's so much going on. That's when your walls are down. And if care is not taken, you hear stories about people who go months, without intimacy in their marriages. What happens when you've gone months? As a guy, you check out mentally. And then when you check out, there's a very easy route for other people to check into
other
that
people,
space.
other things.
Other people,
That's
other
where
things,
pornography
yeah.
comes into play.
There's so
if
many
you're
things.
trying hard to not do the other people.
There's so exactly, and this happens a lot in Christian marriages.
Absolutely.
Right? In our way of trying not to cheat or trying to be holy
Stay
and
faithful to
stay
your
faithful to our
spouse.
spouse is
you
what then
you start to
happens.
cheat on them with your computer.
Exactly. You get into other things. And it
Yes.
happens this is,
Yeah.
you see this in a lot of youth as well.
Yeah.
Christian youth, while we are trying our very best to abstain and keep ourselves, what usually or typically happens in the church community is that people then turn to other things, and that becomes
So
the problem.
I guess the important thing is then learning self-control is for
Absolutely.
those who are single and for those who are younger is learning self-control,
Yes.
which is a huge sign of maturity,
yes.
as well as it is one of the fruits of the spirit.
Absolutely.
So that's important for you to learn. But in the context of marriage, the important thing is to, if you have to, like, abstain from each other, if you're away from each other, like the Bible says, you got to quickly come back together, because
quickly
then the
come back,
devil
yeah.
starts to find work for you to do. It's
Exactly.
crazy that it said that it is in that time
Yeah.
that the devil tricks you. So it's, what that tells me is that what keeps the devil out of our marriage is actually staying sexually intimate
Absolutely.
or physically intimate with each
Absolutely.
other. And again, like I said, that's not always just sex. There's other physical ways to stay touching,
connect,
to stay
right.
connected with your spouse, so definitely not allowing long periods of time. And how do you prevent that? I remember our pastor's wife, when we were much younger, and they were still like pouring into us. I remember when she used to say, schedule it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Schedule sex.
I thought that was the weirdest thing when she
I
used
thought
to
it was
say
weird, but
schedule
it sure
Yeah.
has helped.
It
It
sure
helped in the
has.
beginning.
Yes.
And again, you know that thing about when they say it takes 90 days for you to learn
To
a
form a
new
habit. Yep.
habit? Yes. Again, if you can try scheduling it for 90 days, after
Yes.
that, you may not even need your calendar anymore. It becomes
Absolutely.
something
if,
that
if,
is
if you're that couple that is currently in a season of
a
life where
rot.
you're struggling, right? It is advisable to schedule it. Right,
Just
once a
pick a
week,
day.
twice a week,
Pick
whatever
the
it is
days
that
on the
works for you,
calendar
right?
that works for you guys.
Put it on there until it becomes second nature, and then you don't need that calendar anymore.
And when that time comes, what you will have to do, and this is what we've done in the season when we've had to schedule, is you don't make it awkward. It doesn't now become, it's not a chore. It is more of a, think of
You're
it like
looking
date
forward to
night.
it,
Yeah, think
right.
of it the way we handle date night.
Yeah.
We're so excited about date night. We're looking forward to it. We're preparing for it. You're getting your clothes picked out. You're putting on your makeup. The guys are
Right.
like, checking out the restaurants and all that stuff. That's the same way you can look at it when it comes to scheduling
So
sex.
when a woman schedules it, that's not the night to say there's a headache.
Absolutely
You can't
not.
have a headache that night.
That headache.
If you have a headache, you should take
Take Tylenol.
take Tylenol for your headache. That's the wrong night to have a headache.
But just be intentional to keep yourself healthy. Be intentional about staying in good shape and in good spirits around that time, so that when it does come around, and then also just keep talking about it.
Right.
Like, don't act like we're not going to say anything. We know that we scheduled it for Thursday, but we're not going to say anything from morning till night. Then we just get in bed and we're supposed to just, take your clothes off. Time to start.
Right.
No, come
Walk
on.
your way up to it.
Come
you
on
know?
now.
Say sweet things.
Set
all day.
excitement,
Yeah.
like talk to each other about like, oh, so tonight's the night, huh? Send some sweet text,
Yeah.
Sext each other all day long about all the things you would wish that you could
You
do.
said sext each other?
Yeah, isn't that what they call it? Sexting.
How do you do that?
Pretty much when you're sending sexy texts.
I know what it is. I just wanted you to say it out loud.
You're a hot mess.
Just for the people in the back.
Really? Which people
case-
in the back? I think
in
everybody
case,
knows
in
what
case they
sexting
can't
is.
hear you
Anyway, send those sweet, sexy texts all day long.
all day long.
Talk about what you're excited about. Find some excitement or something that you want to try that is new. And that's the other thing, is try to be creative. Try to be creative. Don't think of it as a performance.
Let's talk about that though. So I feel, and I could be wrong,
Let's see. What
that
do you feel?
some people, the reason why they don't talk about,
Physical intimacy.
no, not just physical intimacy, the reason why they don't talk about what they want to experience and things like that is because the fear of judgment from their partner. Like, where you learning that from? Like, why are you thinking about that? Oh, maybe your spirit is perverted. Oh, you'd be surprised. Yeah, you'll be surprised. So a lot of people just keep, things to themselves, and that's when things become monotonous, right? Where it's just the same
Oh, so you don't think I'm
repetition.
trying? I'm learning new things from other weird places.
You don't call me an ashawo
okay,
now.
but see, that's the thing. That's because sex has been perverted.
Yes,
It's been perverted by the world, but sex was created by God.
by God, to be enjoyed.
For
Yes,
marriage.
yes.
And
And if I don't learn it with you, if I don't explore it with you, then what am I doing with all these thoughts and all these things that I
if
feel
you're
in
thinking
my head?
about it, try it.
Uh-oh.
If you're thinking about it, try
Give
it.
it a shot.
Talk about it and try. Give it a shot.
As
I
long as your
always-
partner is okay.
Absolutely.
try.
And that's the thing about when they say the marriage bed is undefiled, and then people want to explain that away in many different ways. My understanding of what that means is the marriage bed is safe.
It is a safe place.
It is a safe
place
place.
to try things.
That
with
is
your
what
partner.
I understand.
Yes.
And that's how we've always ran our marriage bed, is it's a safe place, meaning we only do things that we both feel safe with.
Doing. Yes.
I'm always for, and I feel like everybody, male and female, should be for, how can I blow your mind? Again, marriage is about serving each other both in the bedroom and outside of the bedroom. So
That
if
verse
you're-
actually talked about service.
yeah,
Yeah. In
it
and
should have
outside the
said
bedroom.
blowing each other's mind, but it's okay.
Well, that's pretty much what it said.
It'd be like the
That's Tosin's version.
the millennial version, who will say blowing each other's minds. I feel like you should at least be willing to try the things that are in your partner's minds.
Right.
If your partner is like, I've been thinking about trying this with you. Hey, if
If you're comfortable.
if I'm comfortable,
Yes.
my rule of thumb is I will try anything once.
Okay. That is correct.
If I don't like it,
then we're not going back to
we're
it.
not doing it again. And I hope that you have. I know that
Absolutely.
you have that
Yeah,
same.
I don't have a problem
You
with that at all.
will try anything.
I don't know about anything now. There's a lot of things I would try.
But again, it's feeling comfortable enough to stop making sex feel like it's nasty. It's not.
Yeah.
And the church has not done a good job talking about it. And because we're not talking about it, we act like it is this perverse. Again, bear in mind, we're coming from how many years? 20 something years, most of us, up teen years, most of us, of abstaining from this thing.
Right.
That is good. We've been avoiding it for so long, staying pure, keeping ourselves away from it. Then we get married and we're supposed to just flip overnight.
Yeah, just flip a switch, and then all of a sudden
and
become
be this
become the
sexy
best.
maven.
Yeah.
And
It's a journey. Is the truth.
it's a journey.
It's a journey that we, again. This is why when young people or young men, I think I can speak for, one of the things that we always struggle with when it comes to marriages is this gonna be it for me? Like, am I gonna be able to just be with one woman, right? The mindset with that is coming from a place of, she's just gonna give me the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. But if we come from the other side of it with the scripture that we just read, where we're serving each other, the idea is that there is growth.
There is growth
In that process,
Yes,
right?
there is beauty in that.
So
yes.
while you think, oh, it's mind-blowing today in the beginning, well, guess what? Imagine what happens 10 years.
The more mature
right, the
version
more
of your
mature-
wife.
Exactly. What does that look like when we're able to
That is more
explore?
familiar with her body.
Yes.
That is more familiar with her wants and her
Mhm.
needs. A guy who is more comfortable with your body.
Exactly.
Now knows the nooks and crannies.
Mm.
And you're telling me that you're like worried about
Yes.
spending the rest of your life
Why
with
wouldn't
that?
you want to do that?
You go
know?
start again with somebody and pretend. The reason, you know what? I heard something today, and I'm trying to remember where I heard it, but I think somewhere on TV. And it was a guy saying that a lot of guys think that they're so good in bed, and that's because they keep hopping from one girl to another.
Nah.
Like you keep going from one girl. If you do one time with each woman, you're gonna think you're
We all think we're
the
best.
best.
Champions. You're not going back for reviews.
This is the reason. This is the reason why it was not created for fornication. You're not supposed to be hop skipping everywhere. The beauty in it is actually staying with your wife and growing to see the maximum that your mind, your body, your heart, your soul can produce.
And in there is what makes a real man. I think that it's easy for anyone to just date around. I think
Absolutely.
anyone can do that.
Yeah.
What is difficult to do is to say, this is the person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, and actually stick with that one person. Because the work that it takes to learn that person, to submit to that person,
To serve
to
that
grow
person.
with that person, to serve that person, that's what is scary for most people. And it's not easy, I got to be honest. But the result of it, the reward that comes when you are able to do that, is mind blowing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Just saying. Just saying.
I love that. But to our point tonight, what we are focusing on is how to build that physical intimacy.
Yes.
And I think some practical things that we have done, you're probably like asking, okay, yeah, sure, we hear you, but how
do I get out of-
how do
yeah.
I build physical intimacy with my spouse? How do I feel that sexy? I was trying to say with the ladies earlier, anticipation helps.
Okay.
Intentionally anticipating. Take a moment, and I would say this. I don't know where it's gonna go.
Uh-oh.
Take a moment
About
and
to say
live
something
in
crazy.
the Lulu land. That is my advice.
Oh.
In the Lulu land, tell yourself whatever it is you need to tell yourself that is going to happen, and believe it.
Okay.
Because I really believe with women, it's all here in our mind. So it's what we tell ourselves that determines how comfortable our body gets.
Okay.
So tell yourself whatever you need to tell yourself. He's the best thing since sliced bread. You cannot wait to see what else you guys are going to pull out of the bag.
Can people tell themselves that long enough to where they actually believe it?
No, but
Is that a thing?
I think you can. It's a choice. It's a choice. I feel like you make a choice of whatever mindset you choose you want to be
Okay.
in, and you can believe it. You can choose to. That's number one.
So
Again,
what are some of the things that help though? So let me give you one.
Okay.
One that I am like super like in touch with, I think. Physical hygiene.
Absolutely.
I think physical hygiene is so major for me. I'm about the smell, right? If you're coming to bed and there's a kick in a breath, which we all have it, But if I'm about to get yeah, if I'm thinking about getting something and I smell something foul, it's a turn off, right? And you're like that too.
I'm
You're
big
very
on smell.
much like
I'm
that.
big on smell.
I would come into bed
All groomed
all groomed
and ready.
and I will come. I'm always groomed anyway.
But you're ready.
But I will come into bed
You gonna know.
with perfume, like with my cologne on.
Uh-huh.
The one that you like, the one that I know you always connect with every single time.
You
I
set
will-
me up.
Yeah, I will put it in specific locations so that you know what time it is, right? So again,
Set the mood.
set the mood. Call me crazy. Like in our bedroom, there's a fireplace. The fireplace is gonna be on. Best believe. Music is gonna be on.
The lights are dimmed.
The lights are gonna
to
be
blue.
dimmed to blue specifically. I'm gonna tell Alexa to turn the light to blue to let you know, hey, the moment you walk into this room, you either stay or you turn around and walk out, because there's only one thing happening, right? And that's some of the things. So physical hygiene, I think, is key. Where guys, again, we work all day. We're tired. You've perspired. Take a shower. Take a rinse and clean up a little bit for your wife. It's the funny thing is, guys who are stepping out of marriages, they know to do these things. They know to do these things when outside of their marriage, but with
then
the
they
wife,
come home.
it's like she's supposed to just take whatever,
you give her.
It makes no sense.
No, absolutely not. And then again, like I know there's couples that have young kids, little ones. When you have little ones, help around with the little ones.
Yes.
I feel like I don't know about a lot of people, but I really used to it used to warm my heart when my husband would step in and help me with the kiddos when they were little,
I think
because
any woman would love
yeah,
that.
I'm sure any woman would love that.
Yeah.
Jump in with her, help her out, get everything all situated, or send her, to go get a shower, before, and you take care of the kiddos before you come to bed. Men, easy peasy,
Yeah.
100 in like a second. Women, we're like an oven. Men are like microwaves. Microwaves were like ovens. We need to preheat.
You gotta preheat.
So
Yeah.
send her to go preheat.
You gotta turn. You gotta turn the oven to what, 380 degrees.
No, 400. I
400?
think 400. 400 is the ideal.
Okay.
So you got to give her time to go preheat, prep herself and all of that stuff.
Right.
But again, first of all, it's important for us to acknowledge and to be comfortable talking about sex, and not in an awkward way.
Yes.
To talk about it openly, to talk about our wants, our needs, our desires, our fantasies.
Yes.
Talk about them. They're there. They're in your mind, so bring it
They're
out.
there for a reason.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Absolutely, set the mood.
Okay.
Both physically and in the space.
Yep.
It doesn't have to always be in the bedroom, depending on what kind of season you are in your life. Be creative, be spontaneous,
Yes.
change things up, have fun with it. If your partner, this is one thing I do want to say. If your partner is having a problem with physical intimacy, sometimes it's not just emotional, sometimes it's not just mental, sometimes it's like physical health.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
health concerns
that is
that are
true.
causing it. For women,
On
there's-
both sides,
on both
actually.
sides. Yeah, that's what
men
your partner, yeah.
men and women.
There is the men who may be struggling with, ED or,
Yeah.
things like that. And then there's women who are probably struggling with lubrication issues or hormonal issues that are causing these things. My nursing self knows that. You get, like I said, stay healthy, stay active, because that also helps. Being
Yep.
physically active, working out, helps you in the bedroom.
Absolutely.
Longevity, flexibility, all those things are needed, and it helps in the bedroom.
Pilates.
Yeah,
Work-
I hear Pilates. That's
works,
my new thing.
Works wonders.
I'm definitely going into that. I decided lately I'm no longer doing high intensity. I'm going into Pilates because I've heard some great things about it. If you know some good Pilates places in my area, let me know. Anyway, anyways, working on your flexibility and all. There's the physical side to it, because our body is the one that is getting involved.
Absolutely.
But just looking at it not as a performance but as connection.
Right. So
as-
for those who have the what you just talked about, ED issues, women who struggle with
or hormones and
hormonal
spasms
issues,
and things like that. Yeah, there's so many
lubrication
things. There's so many
issues and
things,
things
y'all.
like that. What are you as the nurse in the house? What are you? What are
I'm
you
not an
suggesting?
OB-GYN nurse,
Yeah.
but I recommend
I
you
can see
follow
your
up.
doctor, right?
Follow up with your specialist. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's always something to fix something
There we go.
out there. You wouldn't be the first. You're not going to be the last.
I
But
like that. I like that you mentioned that, because I think when these things happen, it's easy for the enemy to convince us that there's something wrong with us
oh no,
and we're alone,
No.
right? But little do you know, when you get out and you talk to physicians,
there's
and
millions of women,
practitioners,
millions of men
Yeah.
going through the same thing. If people are going to be honest and vulnerable, you're going to find out that your best friend is going through the same thing. You never
Mm.
know. But absolutely seeing a doctor about it, being open with your spouse about it.
Yes,
I've heard so many people that will talk about things like this in private with other people but cannot tell their spouse, and I just my heart breaks for you.
But that goes
know?
back to that having a relationship where you
Feel
you
safe.
feel safe, and
Communication
you're in a place
is
where you're
safe,
seen and
yeah.
you're safe, and you can talk about these things.
So with that being said, one big thing that we don't want to ignore is praying about it, because
Ah.
you see, God, there's what God cannot do does not exist.
Come on now.
For real. What God cannot do does not exist. I believe that firmly, because sometimes when you're going through these health issues, it's not what the doctor is doing. It is what God can do.
God can do, yes.
So, and also praying for a softness for your spouse towards you, praying that you're for attraction, praying for connection, praying that you guys stay continuously connected
Yeah.
and in love. And just praying towards for those things and towards those things is something that we cannot take lightly.
And this is individual prayer and
And
couple prayer
together,
together as right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If
Okay, I
there's
want to
an
make sure
area
we're
that
clear
you're
on that.
feeling like you cannot share with your spouse, talk to God about something in their heart, because you guys were one.
Yeah.
You are one. You're doing this together. If you cannot talk to him about your deepest, most intimate issues, or you cannot talk to her about your deepest, most intimate issues, Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah.
Houston, we have a problem. So, I mean, with that being said, I also know that there's the importance
Mm.
of stimulating emotional intimacy, which then triggers spiritual intimacy.
1000%. I mean,
And for us, it's the cards, isn't it?
well, it's not just the cause. It's layered. I think it's layered.
Let me hear your
Talking
layers.
about stimulating each other emotionally.
Mhm.
It's each person's responsibility to
Mhm.
understand what gets their wife stimulated.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay, I like that.
So the card part works.
That's
for
me.
you.
It works
That's
for me.
a you thing,
And
right.
that's just, it.
and
and-
I'm okay with that. I'd
Yeah.
like that for you. And when we're talking about the card,
We're not marketing anything, by the
yeah,
way.
it's this game where you play
Card
and
games
it gets
that-
you talking about the past and the present. And
Oh no, there's
future.
different ones.
And then there's
there's
I'm
the
getting
one
there.
that
I'm getting there.
you say past, present, and future.
Yeah, Justin likes to talk. She likes to reminisce and go
I'm a
into-
sapiosexual.
apparently whatever that means. So she likes to go into like deep, into conversations, and that gets her going. And then we morph into the one that is quite sexual, and gets you to do things and things like
Try
that.
things,
Try
yeah.
things, right? Which again, I don't mind at all. But that's a you,
That's a me
that's
thing.
a you thing.
Yeah,
For
so
most people, what I'm pointing at is
find what
let's
it is.
get to the point where we find what works. I mean, we pay enough attention to what works for our spouses,
Yeah.
and be humble enough to not come into the bedroom and say, "Oh, this was what I did with my ex-girlfriend, and so that should work for you."
Oh,
No,
God, no.
every woman is different, and every season is different.
Oh,
So please, what worked last year just might not work this year.
season.
Be ready to keep
To switch it
growing,
up.
to keep
Switch
switching
it
up.
up.
That's what this
To
is all
keep
about. That's what
growing,
makes
yeah.
it fun, right?
And that's where the conversation starters come from. The conversation of what does sex look like for you now, or what stimulates you? What is it that I can do differently? What are we enjoying? What do we want to X out, not happening again?
Right.
Kind of stuff. And talking about it with laughter, with relaxation,
Yes.
with no judgment, and with fun. Sex is fun. It can be fun.
Yes,
It
it can.
is fun. And it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be rigid. It's not supposed to be one-sided. It's not supposed to be,
One-sided.
know-
What do you mean one-sided?
where only one person, that whole idea of I want to satisfy my husband. What about your wife? Uncle?
Uh-oh.
What about satisfying yourself?
So you want to talk to the uncles now?
No, because a lot of people always think that sex is about what the husband wants, what the man wants.
Well, it's a cultural deficiency that we come into marriage again when we've spent how many years in school in our career paths, growing, learning a particular field of study. Marriage is something we're supposed to do for the rest of our lives for most people, but somehow nobody's sitting us down and teaching us on what we're supposed to do, and that is a disservice to humanity itself, right? So getting to the point where somebody's teaching us, society has taught us that, or taught women, marriage or sex is for the men. As long as he's satisfied,
You're good.
you're good. But thank God for the 24th century, women are waking up to knowing that, hey, I got needs,
needs too.
and I need my needs to be met. And guess
Absolutely.
what? The guys who are not conforming, who are not understanding that, are the ones that are struggling.
That is true.
They're struggling big time.
That
Because
is true.
guys, listen, I like my woman satisfied.
Hey, you want a repeat customer,
want a
right?
repeat
We say
customer.
we're serving each other. If you want a repeat
You gotta
customer,
come back.
hey, you want him to come back.
Yeah.
You want satisfaction. You want a good review.
You're not spending your money anywhere else. You're gonna come
no,
back.
my currency is only for you.
There you go. There you go.
All right. So I think we've covered a few
I
things.
think so.
Do you want to recap or are we good?
I think we're good.
I think we're good. I think
this
we're
has
good.
been a fun one.
It has.
I do hope that while it's fun and all of that, I hope that
You guys are catching on.
people
to
are
things.
learning something. And if there's any questions, any specifics, right? Please reach out to us. Let us know. We'll be glad to expand on it and
Yeah.
maybe shed more light.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as always, we want you to.
Like, share, comment, subscribe. Guys, listen, what we're doing here, again, for us, it's not for popularity or anything,
No.
but it's more that we have a calling over our lives. And the calling truly is to help marriages grow, help marriages become better. How do we do that when we keep information to ourselves, right? We have a lot of people that watch our the podcast on Spotify, on iTunes, on all these platforms, right? And they'll send us messages directly, and they'll say, "Oh man, that was so good." And my question is, just put it on the platform, right? When you do that, it helps the algorithm, and it helps us,
And it helps others.
it helps others too. Yeah.
And if you're worried about if you don't want to be identified, then yes, sure, send us a DM and let us know you don't want to be identified, and we can scrub it and share your share the
Comments, questions,
comments,
yeah.
questions, and conversations. But we want to keep this going so that as many people that can be helped will be helped by the special grace of God.
By God's
So,
grace.
with that being said, till next
Till
time.
next time, it's been wonderful.
Bye.
See you all later.